Thank you. Historic Ferrum, Virginia. Anybody sit back and ever wonder what that means? All right, so I roll into Ferrum, Virginia, this area last night, and I walk into the hotel I was staying at, and the girl behind the counter says, you here on business? I said, yeah, I have an event at Ferrum College tomorrow. And she looks at me and she says, great school. I said, awesome, so load my room up, get ready to go, and I go across the street to the Applebee's. Now mind you, I'm staying up in Rocky Mount, and the girl who was serving us at the Applebee's, her name was Beth, and she was a graduate of Ferrum. And so I go in, and she's talking, and she's like, why are you guys in town or whatever? And so we say, we have something to do at Ferrum College. She goes, best school in the nation. That's my alma mater. Of course, I'm like, all right, whatever. Gotcha. And then she wanted to know what we were doing. And so I said, I have a press conference tomorrow, and, so I'm going to be at Ferrum. Here's the thing. She was at our game in 2005 when we came up to, what school was it, Franklin County? Franklin County, and we were in an absolute Methodist, and Ferrum were in an absolute dogfight. And that game ended up deciding who was going to win the championship that year. She was at that game. When she graduated high school from Franklin County, she went down to Coastal Carolina, and she went there for a semester, and then she transferred back to Ferrum. For about 45 minutes last night, I heard Beth talk about Coach Harper, Coach Adams, Coach Davis back in the day, player for player. And so what I got out of that was there's a tradition here at Ferrum, and I'm not trying to make this all about Ferrum, but there's a tradition here that made me a little bit jealous. Okay, that's kind of what I'd love to have at Methodist, and what I aspire to have is just a community. And you go into all these different schools, and as a head coach, you put yourself in this position like, what would it be like to live here? And I'm sure everybody does that in Fayetteville, saying, ooh, Fayetteville, North Carolina. But you put yourself in that position, and I'm going to tell you right now, there's a tradition around here that's most impressive, and it's been from the moment I got here. And I never really understood that because I thought Ferrum College was nothing more than a place they're going to come up, we're going to go against triple option, I was going to pull my hair out, and they're going to punch in the mouth. And they've done that. But tradition, that's the biggest thing that, I'm going to come up here and I'm proud of, is that, I think at Methodist University we're starting to turn the corner to start a little tradition. And here's what I mean by that. I have a guy by the name of J.D. Stalvey who has decided that he's going to wait it out. He's going to find a way to make it work. He's going to take his classes. And he comes off a medical red shirt, and he's going to be a fifth-year senior for me. I have a guy by the name of Brian Bing who could have graduated in May, but he's gonna find a way to make it work, and he's coming back to Methodist to play his fifth year. I got a guy by the name of Jordan Van, okay, which some of you guys may or may not know, and I'll talk about him in a little bit, but has sold the farm to try and make it work so that he can come back and play at Methodist University. Sometimes attrition in this conference will make or break you. That's kind of where, obviously I'm envious of Ferrum, but I think that's where we're turning the corner at Methodist University, and that's what I'm most proud of, is that we're returning a great group of guys who are starting to believe in something, and that's hard to do when you talk about the cost of the school and the extrinsics and your state schools and everything else that goes into it, is that at Methodist University, I'm really proud in the fact that I have a bunch of guys who aren't running for the door anymore, but they're hanging out and they're starting to believe in something. A couple guys I want to talk about is that, first of all, offensively, we returned some guys. Let's dry the tears over Max Reber being gone. Okay, Max Reber's gone, and for some people, they're gonna, it's the end of the world. Here we go, Max is gone, and Max, I know you're watching, but I'm gonna miss you, but your time is gone. Okay, and that's the reality on campus, off campus, with everybody. What's Methodist going to be without Max? It wasn't necessarily a one-man show like I think a lot of people thought. Coming off the 13th season, Max had to make a bunch of plays, and he did make a bunch of plays. And then I think that 1 year ago, I was in the worst position in America because we're coming off an 8-2 season, and I had a team full of guys who felt really good about themselves. Going 6-4 last year, and again, winnable games and all that other stuff, but we went 6-4, let's be honest, okay? And I think that versus facing the adversity of that, I think that was a punch in the face to our team, and I think we approached the offseason with that approach, that we were a 6-4 team, and now the honeymoon's over, and now it's time to get to work. And that's kind of what we have at Methodist University right now. I got a bunch of blue-collar kids who are just working their fingers to the bone, and they're believing in something. I got a guy by the name of Jordan Van. I talked about him before, okay? He's a winner. He wins. I don't necessarily know if that's going to equate to wins this year. Time will tell, but the kid wins, and he stuck it out, and he came down to Methodist University, had a heck of a freshman year at North Carolina Wesleyan, comes down, competes with Max, didn't win the job, and let me tell you something, rather than hang his head, he was one of the biggest advocates of our offense, making sure things were right. When all craziness broke out, he was the guy, and he did that in a not-so-busy role. He wins. Behind Jordan Van, post Max Reber, I got 2 sophomores and I got a freshman coming in. It's going to be a dogfight. I'm not saying Jordan Van's the guy. I'm just saying he wins. And I'm saying he stuck it out for a reason. But I'm going to tell you right now, that post Max Reber, I feel pretty confident about our quarterback situation. A couple wide receivers I'd like to mention. Anthony Radke, he's going to be a senior. He's changed his mentality. He's a ball player. He's pretty good. Guy by the name of Diedrich Bowman, I think he's a sleeper. He had one of the best off seasons, according to our coaches, in the spring. And then we got a couple other guys. We got a whole slew of receivers. That's not the focal point of our offense. 2 years ago, when I took over as the head football coach, I couldn't tell you who one of our offensive line starters were going to be. 1 year ago, I had 4 guys, and we had 1 X factor on the offensive line. Right now, we have 8 guys, and I don't know which 8 are going to be the guys up front, but I have 5 guys who have serious starting time and serious playing time. Aaron Borden, David Cooper, Brandon Sparrow, Leroy Johnson, Terrell Adams. I hope they're working hard, or they're going to get beat out. That's how it works, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen up front. We'll always have good running backs. I think that it's easy to get good running backs in the recruiting area that we have, and that's going to be a dogfight. But what I'm most proud of is not necessarily the fact that we have to sling it around, I'm really proud of those guys up front. I hope they worked as hard this summer as they did this spring. Defensively, I have 3 D linemen who I want to speak of. And really all these guys I'm talking about, and every guy I mentioned, these are all guys who are above 3.0, okay? And they're getting it done academically. They're getting it done in a lot of different ways. J.D. Stalvey's going to be a senior. I got a guy by the name of Mike Jones, who was an all-conference player a couple years ago. Guy by the name of James Atkinson, who I expect big things out of. All going to be seniors. And then behind them, there's depth, which is exciting. At linebacker, Brian Bang is certainly, he was an all-region player last year. He's a good ball player, but, he's setting out to increase his mentality and play like a linebacker should play. Next to him is Kyle Colburn and a guy by the name of Zaid Stivender, okay? Both good kids. But, the best thing about Kyle Colburn is not necessarily his football playing ability. That's the first kid since 05 that I've had that is taking political science classes, got a 4.0. I'm proud of that. Now, some of you guys might have some smarter guys, but that's a heck of a load. And so we got a guy who's got a 4.0, and a lot of guys who surround him who are all, they're smart football players, and I think that means a lot. At DB, Latovis Davis, Shaheem Simpson, and Brandon Boyd, who was a JV player half the season last year, waited his turn, made his way up through, and ended up with 4 picks last year towards the end of the season. Again, a kid that is a pleasure to be around. I'm excited going into the season. I think that, we have a great opportunity. I think that, again, this poll really means nothing, okay? You're grabbing for straws, and, we're all waiting to see who comes in. But what I can promise you at Methodist University is that, back home right now, and again, everybody talks about it, but I have the best cohesion and camaraderie on my staff. Those guys have really come together. This is by far one of the best recruiting classes I've seen. I'm very, very happy with the production of the assistant coaches, and they're unbelievable guys. They work well together, and they're bringing ideas in that I have no idea about. They're doing everything from, game day environment to social media to all of these different ideas, and they just keep bringing new ideas in. And again, I tell the staff all the time, if you stay the same, you're going to get the same result. And so I don't have a guy over 32 years old, on staff, and I'm proud of that because these guys are hungry and they take ownership of a lot of things. And so, it's really the staff that's doing a great job, and they're relentless workers like they are in every staff up here. But, I have a special place in my heart for my staff going into this season because this is the first year that these guys believe in something. It doesn't matter what the players want to believe coming in, 18-year-olds, robust roster size, all those things at Methodist University. I have a huge staff of guys who believe in something, and that's where it starts. It starts with your staff. From there it trickles down to your players. If you repeat things enough times, you start to believe it. I think the players do that. I think the staff talks the same language. And, finally, our administration. Dr. Ben Hancock and Bob McAvoy, Dave Evanson, these guys are huge fans. And everybody mentions their administration, but these guys have my back. And, they do a great job. And, again, you're a product of your administration, but, I'd like to say I have one of the best. Okay, and everybody's going to, have their own version of that. But these guys are top-notch. So, with that, questions? Any Max Reber questions? I know it's coming. Here we go.
Coach, Methodist has finished in the top half of the conference the last 3 years. Talk about your ability to sustain that type of success.
Prevent attrition. Keep your kids. It doesn't matter. Again, the grass is greener philosophy happens with every one of us. And now that Christopher Newport's out, we're all in the same boat up here, And so you've got to get your kids believing in one thing. Again, things are moving forward at Methodist University. And again, I'm in a very good situation, but it starts with the staff and the players. And to be honest with you, they're not running for the door like they once were. And, again, it's, when kids believe in something, they start to bleed it. It's really exciting to watch. And that's where we are at Methodist. I don't know if that's going to equate to wins and losses. I think that'll take care of itself as to how we prepare and, if we come up with the right systems. But right now, and Coach Adams had talked about it, but it's a pleasure to come to work every day. We're going to work a bunch of hours. I'm going to have a bunch of dudes. There's going to be problems everywhere. But you know what? At the end of the day, I can walk off the practice field and know that I love my job, okay? And it's not always like that. That right there, if you can walk off and, your kids believe in you and you're tough on them and you get a chance to open your door and see the different personalities, I think that's kind of, where the program's going. But to answer your question, you want to win in this conference, keep your kids. Don't let them go. You got to love them to do that. Any other questions? Thank you very much.